I was on a plane, I saw this guy across the aisle from me praying, and I was like, does this guy know something I don't know? And then I realized he had one of those like little white collars. He was a priest. And I was like, on a religious level, does this guy know something I don't know? I love to see clergy just like doing normal things because like to God, they're like a celebrity. And it's like, clergy, they're just like us. And then, so I'm looking at this guy, I'm checking him out. Not in a sexual way because I'm gay and I'm also chaste like the moon. And I realized that in front of him he's got a tablet, like an iPad, but it's wearing a cover to look like the Holy Bible, which is hilarious. So I think there are a couple of options for how this came about. The first one is the funniest, and it's that he's a practical modern priest. And the Holy Bible is too heavy to travel with. And so he's downloaded the Word of the Lord onto his iPad, and he really wants it to like be the full experience, you know? And I just love to think of him at like 30,000 feet with like a portable computer reading that like, ye shall not round the edges of thy head, which is a real passage in the Bible. I looked it up, but I don't know what it means. The second option is also funny. You know when you have those relatives who like don't really know you very well, they know one thing about you. So every year they get you presents for your birthday that are about that one thing. So like when my mom found out that I was a lesbian, she started sending me presents that are, basically I would describe them as like t-shirts with viewpoints on them. Like she'd send me things like, a woman's place is in the House and also the Senate. She's like, this is what you like, this is what you like. So I think that the priest probably has like a distant cousin who only knows that he's a priest, so like, all right, like every year like sending him some like Catholic shit up the wazoo. He sent him this Bible cover, the priest is using it because he feels guilty, much like me with my t-shirts and my mom. That's what pajama shirts are for. The third option is that this guy isn't a priest at all. He's an air marshal, and I'm onto him because he's playing solitaire on that thing. That's one of the 7 deadly sins. And also, way to overcompensate. Like, come on, put on a suit and I won't look at you, but a priest? I'm gonna be looking. On the same flight, I was seated next to this guy who really wanted to talk to me, you know the kind. I have a strategy that I deploy for these situations. I have a book that I keep in my backpack, and I pulled it out. I can't actually read the book while I fly because I get nauseous, and also because I can't read at all. And so I have this book in my hand. The guy looks at me, he reaches over, closes the book. And he says, I have something I think you'd like. He starts to reach, and I'm like, please don't be his dick. He pulls out Travel Yahtzee. I'm like, you know, this guy, like, as a seat partner, overcompensating. Like, if you want me to look at you, just dress up like a priest. I actually come from a pretty, I don't know, like, moderately Catholic family. Like, we would go to church every Sunday, except for my dad, who said that he had gone to church enough as a child, and so he doesn't have to go anymore. Which I don't think that's how religion works, but I was young. And I guess, I mean, he had like religious tendencies, like every time I wanted him to like kill a bug for me, he made it into a moral crisis. Like I would come up to him and be like, Dad, there's a spider in my room, and he'd be like, Lynn, are you asking me to kill one of God's creatures? He wouldn't let me say squish, he made me say kill. So I'd be like, yes, Dad, I want you to murder me. And then he'd be like, okay, but the whole time as he's working up to it, he'd be like he's going to get the magazine to roll up, and he's like, all right, if your life is more important than this spider's. He's like rolling it up, he's like about to hit it. Lynn, do you really think that your life is more important than this innocent spider? Spider, I'm so sorry that I have to kill you, but Lynn is scared. Then he'd smack it. And then he would say, I I wonder how many Hail Marys I'm gonna have to say to cover up for that one. And I'd be like, probably none, Dad, because you don't go to church with us. Actually, that's not entirely true. Like, he was kind of a part of the experience. Like, afterward, he would meet us for lunch. But God forbid I order a hamburger, he'd be like, Lynn, do you really think that your life is more important than this innocent cow's? And that's why I'm a vegetarian. I used to masturbate a lot when I was really young, which, like, if you figured out how to do it, why wouldn't you? You guys don't masturbate? But actually, I know exactly why wouldn't you. Remember that Christian stuff I was talking about? I was so guilty about masturbating that I would write about it constantly in my journal. But I didn't want anyone to know that I was writing about masturbating, so I had to come up with a code word. And I chose to use the word reading. So instead of masturbating, I was reading, which makes for a brilliant journal to go back and read. You know, it'll be things like, whenever I want to read, it sounds like such a good idea, but after I read, I feel really guilty. Or like, I can't believe I read 3 times today. I would like extend the metaphor, like, Mom and Dad are out of town this week, so I guess I can read all of Moby Dick. Catholicism had me so fucked up that I thought my ancestors were in heaven looking down at me every time I masturbated. Like, I thought that my great Uncle Tom, his ghost was gonna come down to me and while I was reading, close my book, start to reach for something, and I'm like, please don't be his ghost dick, please don't be his ghost dick. He pulls out like a crucifix. Now I know that in that metaphor, the book was standing in for like the electronic toothbrush that I was using as my vibrator, so I'm not really sure what that makes the crucifix. Like, I know in Christianity the crucifix symbolizes like blood and pain and suffering, so like maybe a Kotex tampon? I'm a senior this year, which means that it's my last year and graduating soon. And yeah, thank you. Most people in my position right now are looking for a job, or they're like planning their backpacking trip to Europe. You know, just like looking for ways to find fulfillment in their life. I am looking for ways to fulfill the credit requirements that I haven't done yet and need to graduate. It actually started to get really bad. At the end of last term, I was panicking, so I emailed the Dean of Students, and she replied, and she was like, hey, your situation looks pretty bad. I'm gonna set you up with a meeting with Stevie P, and you guys can work this out. Yeah, and so, I don't know if any of you are in classes with me this term, but you might have noticed that like sometimes I'm kind of late, or like I'm not there, and then you like turn around and it seems like I am there. Here's what happened. So I met Stevie P. I went to his house and he took me up to his office and I explained the situation, and he was like, yeah, like there is something we can do. We don't really like to offer students this possibility, but like in your case, it's kind of all we can do. And so he told me like there is a way to fulfill all the requirements at the same time. So he reached into his desk and he pulls out like this, it's like a very long chain, and at the end is like an hourglass. And so that's all been good, but at the same time, I have this friend, he's kind of like, it's like an older guy friend, and he actually works for facilities at Carleton, and he used to go to Carleton, but he had to take a leave of absence. For the rest, like he couldn't come back, so now he kind of like works on the grounds crew, and he's got this big animal, and it was like being cool and friendly, but this asshole in my PE class like bothered it, and so it bit him. And now the administration is like, we have to kill that animal. And at the same time, my best friend's godfather just broke out of prison. This whole term, we've been thinking that he's trying to murder my best friend, but we just figured out that he's actually a good guy. And so now I've got my time turner, but I'm like, my first birthday when Wally Whites broke into my house and he killed both of my parents, but he couldn't kill me because I had my mother's love, and so I sent him back to one of the 7 corridors of the Whites in which his soul is kept. They tell you it looks like a middle school because it used to be one, but it's actually because it's housing a murderer. Have you guys ever filed a facilities work request? I filed like a fair amount of them, but I always feel really awkward about it because it's kind of like free form, like there are no check boxes for like, my leg is broken, or like, there's mold in my bathtub, you know, like, I was moving my bed frame, I smashed it into my wall, and now I think there's asbestos coming into my room. Instead, it's literally just like a blank form on which you can make an idiot of yourself. And so another thing I found out about the facilities work request process is that you can actually like look down at the history to see other complaints that you filed. I figured that out while I was dealing with the bed frame thing. Comedy is truth, folks. And so I was scrolling through, everything looks pretty normal. It's like what you would expect from anyone living in institutionalized shambles. Until I get to the very last one. And that one says in all caps, "Baby spiders, please help." And it's dated October 2015, which is my freshman fall. And I opened it and read it, and what it says sounds like the craziest acid trip I had ever been on, except for that I know I wasn't on an acid trip because it was October 2015 and I had just discovered beer. So I'm going to read to you what it says. Hi. I just looked under my bed, and my shoes and my suitcase are covered in these tiny black dots. And I think they're baby spiders, because I saw in my trash can it's like full of webs and a million more of the tiny black dots. But they're moving around, and I think maybe a spider laid its eggs under my bed, and now all of the baby spiders are hatching. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? I do not remember writing that. And I think I must have blocked it out, because actually when I looked at it, I had this memory of like grabbing my trash can and running out into the hallway, and I like bump into this facilities guy, and I'm like, "Thank God, can you please help me?" And he looks at me, he looks at the baby spiders, he looks back at me, and he says, "Lynn, do you really think your life is more important than it is?" That's our show, thank you!